A deep and strange tremor moved through the grand palace of Aurelia Prime. It was soft at first, like a whisper under the floor, but within seconds it became strong enough to shake the silver columns and make the crystal lights swing above the hall. Dozens of alien guards in bright gold armor stood around the Empress, but even they looked confused as the walls began to hum. The Empress, Saralith, stood at the center of the giant ceremonial hall. Her long blue cloak rested behind her like a small river of light. She tried to stay calm, but something about the tremor felt wrong. It did not feel like a normal energy fluctuation or a weather shift. It felt old, deep, and full of warning. The palace sensors activated by themselves, sending loud chimes through the hall. Everyone froze. The guards looked at each other, their eyes wide. Their training told them to stand firm, but their instincts were screaming at them to move. Another tremor hit, stronger than the first. The walls glowed with thin red lines like cracks of light. One guard shouted, "Unknown anomaly. Unknown anomaly in the lower core." His voice shook. "We must evacuate the Empress at once." Before the Empress could speak, a powerful pulse of energy rolled under their feet. The lights flickered. A long, deep sound moved through the hall, almost like something waking up beneath the palace. That was the moment the guards broke. One of them dropped his weapon. Another shouted for everyone to run. The entire formation fell apart within seconds. Some guards ran toward the exit doors. Others shouted at each other in panic. A few even used their jump boosters to leap toward the balcony. None of them looked back at the Empress they were sworn to protect. Saralith stood frozen, shocked by the sudden fear in her elite guards. These were the strongest warriors of her empire. They were trained for battles, disasters, and even cosmic storms. But something about the energy below the palace terrified them so deeply that they forgot their oaths. She tried to call them back. "Stop. Remain at your posts. This is an order." Her voice echoed through the hall. But no one listened. They ran as if the palace were collapsing. The hall became empty in seconds. The Empress stared at the tall doors as they sealed shut behind the fleeing guards. Silence filled the huge room. She felt her heartbeat echoing in her ears. She was alone, standing in a hall meant to be the safest place in her kingdom. But she was not completely alone. From the far left side of the hall, footsteps echoed. Slow, steady human footsteps. A man walked toward her with calm eyes and a firm step. His uniform was simple black armor with a silver patch showing the symbol of Earth. His name was Oren Hale, a young human soldier sent to Aurelia Prime as part of the peace mission. He did not run. He did not panic. He walked toward her as if nothing strange was happening. The Empress stared at him, confused. "Why are you still here?" she asked. Her voice sounded sharper than she intended. "Did you not hear the alarms? The energy anomaly is dangerous." Oren stopped a few steps in front of her and spoke in a steady voice. "I heard everything, Your Majesty. But you were left alone. Humans don't leave someone behind in moments like this." She looked at him in disbelief. "My guards fled. Even they could not stay. What makes you think you can protect me?" Oren gave a small, calm smile, the kind that made his eyes soften. "Sometimes staying is more important than running. And you should not face danger alone." Another tremor shook the hall. Dust fell from the top beams. A low, growing hum spread across the marble floor. The Empress lost her balance for a moment, but Oren stepped closer and held her steady. His movements were sure, quiet, and gentle, without fear. The Empress looked into his eyes. She could see no panic there. Only determination. In the distance, a side door opened as two palace sensors dropped from their rails. A soft glow moved from the cracks in the floor. The energy was rising again. It felt like something deep under the palace was calling for attention. Oren looked toward the glowing cracks and then back at the Empress. "Do you know what's causing this?" She hesitated before answering because the truth was heavy. "There is an artifact beneath the palace. Ancient. From my ancestors. It was sealed long ago. Even I do not fully understand it." "Could it be waking up?" Oren asked. Saralith nodded slowly. "Yes. That is what it feels like." Another pulse of light raced beneath the floor. This time the entire hall shook. One of the tall crystal windows cracked with a loud sound. The Empress took one careful step back, but Oren did not move away. He stood in front of her, forming a barrier with his own body. The Empress stared at him, unable to hide her shock. "Human soldier, you do not even know what danger this is. You should escape while you can." Oren shook his head. "If you stay, I stay." She felt something heavy in her chest. Her guards had run faster than the wind, but this human, this outsider, remained steady like a shield made of calm will. Another tremor struck. This one forced both of them to crouch. Energy sparks danced across the far wall. The palace system gave one last warning, core anomaly reaching critical threshold. Saralith breathed in, trying to stay steady. The fear she had pushed down for years began to return. But when she looked at Orin, she saw something different. Humans, she had been told, were brave in simple, strange ways. Now she saw it herself. "Orin Hale," she said softly, "why do you trust me enough to risk your life?" "It's not about trust," he said. "It's about doing what's right." The Empress felt warmth rise in her chest. No one had spoken to her like that in years. Another burst of energy shook the palace. Orin gently pulled her behind one of the silver pillars, shielding her with his body as shards of crystal fell from above. He did not flinch. Saralith looked up at him, her expression full of surprise and something new, respect. Outside, the alarm screamed. The palace trembled. But in the center of that chaos, a human soldier stood between danger and an empress, simply because he chose not to run. It was the moment that changed everything. The hall was still shaking when Orin Hale stepped out from behind the pillar. The floor vibrated under his boots like a restless heartbeat. The Empress followed carefully, her long cloak brushing across the cracked marble. The lights continued to flicker, turning the room bright for a moment, then dim, then bright again. Each change made the shadows move like living shapes on the walls. Saralith tried to steady her breath. She was a ruler of a great empire, but the strange energy rising from deep beneath the palace made her feel like a child lost in the dark. She looked at Orin, who kept walking forward with calm steps, as if the chaos in the palace meant nothing. She wondered how a human could act like that. "Orin," she said softly, "you should not stay near me. There is real danger here." He turned his head a little and gave a small smile. "I know," he said, "but running won't fix anything. And I don't think you should face this alone." His voice was simple, almost gentle, but it had a strength that made her feel safer. Another deep sound rose from the floor, like something huge breathing below the surface. Saralith shivered. The palace sensors above them blinked red, sending waves of symbols across the air. She recognized the symbols. They were warnings of unstable energy. Something was waking up. The tremor grew stronger. A wide crack opened across the floor behind them, glowing with soft blue light. The Empress stepped back in fear, but Orin reached out and took her hand before she could fall. His grip was steady and strong. "Careful," he said, pulling her away from the glowing crack. Saralith looked at him again. She could not understand this human. Her own guards had abandoned her. They had been trained for years, honored for bravery, given the best equipment in the Empire. Yet they ran. But this one human soldier stayed. She had only known him for 7 hours since the peace ceremony preparations began, and still he acted as if protecting her was the most natural thing in the galaxy. A soft spark lit up under the floor again. This time it sent a warm wave of air across the hall. The Empress froze. She recognized the warmth. It was the same energy that came from the ancient artifact deep beneath the palace. "Orin," she said, her voice tight, "the artifact is unstable. If it releases too much energy, the whole palace could collapse." "Then we need to get to it before that happens," Orin replied without any hesitation. Her eyes widened. "You want to go toward the danger?" Orin nodded. "If running makes the problem worse, then yes." She stared at him for a long moment. His eyes were clear, calm, steady like a silent promise. She realized something. Humans were strange, yes, but also brave in a way that made no sense to her people. They did not act because they were trained to. They acted because they chose to. Another alarm rang from the ceiling. Core instability increasing. "Evacuate at once," the palace system repeated. Orin looked at the door where the guards had escaped. It was sealed shut now, locked by the emergency system. They had left without thinking of anything but saving themselves. He could see the Empress staring at the door too, a hint of sadness in her eyes. "Your Majesty," he said quietly, "I'm sorry your guards ran." Saralith lowered her gaze. "I trained them. I trusted them. My people looked at them as symbols of strength." She paused, her voice softening. "But they did not stay. Only you did." Orin touched the small device on his wrist, checking the energy readings. "Sometimes people run when they don't understand something," he said. "Fear pushes them." She looked at him with tired eyes. "And what pushes you, human soldier?" He shrugged softly. "Someone needed help." The Empress felt something warm in her chest. A strange feeling, one she had not felt in years. Maybe never. She followed him as he moved toward the far corner of the hall where the emergency lift was located. Orin pressed the control panel. The lift shook but opened with a soft chime. The lights inside flickered, but it still worked. Saralith hesitated for a moment before stepping inside. Orin stepped in after her and pressed the button that led to the lower levels. The doors closed. The lift began moving down, humming slowly. For a moment there was silence between them. Only the faint hum of the lift filled the air. The Empress finally spoke. "You do not even know me well. Why risk your life for me?" Orin looked at her with calm eyes. "I don't have to know you," he said. "You're someone who needs protection right now. That's enough." She looked away, trying to hide the warmth in her expression, but Orin noticed. Her long, silver hair drifted slightly as another tremor shook the lift. She reached out and held the railing, but the lift steadied again. They reached level 3, the deep maintenance level of the palace. The doors opened to a long hallway lit with soft blue lights. The walls were covered with ancient inscriptions. They were written in a language so old that only the Empress could understand it. "This way," Saralith said, stepping out first. "The artifact chamber is through the old corridor." Orin followed, watching every corner carefully. His steps were light but ready. He scanned each doorway as they passed, making sure nothing unexpected appeared. The tremors continued. The hallway lights blinked, then settled again. Strange shadows formed on the walls as the artifact pulsed beneath them. Saralith slowed down as they reached a large, circular door with golden patterns. She placed her hand on the center of the door, and the patterns lit up. The door slid open, revealing a wide chamber bathed in blue light. At the center of the chamber floated the ancient artifact, an enormous sphere made of glowing energy swirling like a small sun. Orin stared at it in awe. "That's beautiful," he said softly. "It is also dangerous," Saralith whispered. "And it is waking up." The artifact pulsed again, sending a wave of warm air across the chamber. The Empress stumbled, but Orin caught her before she could fall. His hands held her steady again. "You all right?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "Yes." He released her gently and looked at the swirling sphere. "So what do we do?" Saralith sighed. "I am the only one who can calm it. But I am not sure if I have the strength." Orin stepped beside her. "Then I'll help you," he said simply. She turned to him, surprised again. "You don't even know what to expect." "Maybe not," he said, "but you won't face it alone." The artifact pulsed again, brighter than before, sending a burst of soft light across the chamber. Saralith looked at Orin. This human, this soldier, this stranger who chose to stand at her side even when her own guards ran. And for the first time she felt hope. The chamber glowed with soft blue light as Orin and the Empress stepped inside. The artifact floated above the ground like a giant shining heart, turning slowly in the center of the room. Every slow rotation sent out a warm pulse of energy that moved like a small wave across the floor and walls. It was beautiful, but the deeper hum inside it felt old and heavy, almost like a warning. Saralith stood still for a moment, staring at the sphere. Her face showed fear and responsibility at the same time. This artifact belonged to her ancestors. It was connected to her bloodline. And now it was waking up with more power than she had ever seen. Orin watched her carefully. He could tell the Empress was thinking about something deeper than danger. Something personal. The soft glow reflected on her silver hair, making it shimmer like thin metal threads. He stepped closer to her. "Are you ready?" he asked softly. She took a breath but did not answer right away. Instead, she walked toward the far side of the chamber where old control panels were embedded in the walls. The panels were covered in symbols and carvings that looked nothing like the modern technology Orin was used to. Some of them even looked hand-carved. Saralith placed her hand on a panel. The carvings lit up one by one, glowing in soft purple light. "These controls were made thousands of years ago," she said quietly. "Only my family can activate them. But even with them, stabilizing the artifact is difficult." Orin moved beside her, keeping his eyes on the artifact. The energy inside it swirled faster now, glowing brighter with every pulse. He felt warm air brushing his face every few seconds. "What exactly is it?" he asked. Saralith looked at the sphere again. "It is called the Heart of Valor. My ancestors used it to protect our world long before our empire existed. But it is too powerful, too old. They sealed it away because they feared no one could control it." She paused and looked down. They were right. Orin watched her eyes lower. He could see the weight she carried. Being Empress meant she had to face things no one else could. Even things that frightened her. Another tremor shook the chamber. The artifact flashed with sudden bright light. A wind-like force swept through the room, making Saralith stumble. Orin grabbed her arm, holding her steady again. "You're shaking," he said gently. "Because I know what could happen," she whispered. If the heart becomes unstable, it will release all its stored energy at once. It could break the palace. Or worse. Orin nodded slowly. Then we'll stop it before that. The Empress looked at him. She repeated softly. You're not alone here, Orin said. Not while I'm with you. She felt a warmth that did not come from the artifact. For a moment, her fear softened. She turned back to the panel and activated another row of symbols. A small pedestal rose from the floor beside the artifact, glowing in the same color as her cloak. Sarilith explained, I must connect with the heart through this pedestal. It will allow me to slow its energy. But the process pulls strength from my body. It is difficult and painful. Orin frowned. Then I'll stay close in case the energy affects you. She gave a small nod and stepped toward the pedestal. The artifact pulsed again, louder this time, like a deep drum echoing through the chamber. The pedestal glowed brighter, waiting for the Empress's touch. She placed her hands on its surface. The glow spread from her palms up her arms, and the sphere in the center of the room responded with a brighter swirl. The connection had begun. A long humming sound filled the chamber. The air around them grew warmer. Orin could feel the rising heat and saw the Empress's face tightening as the energy pulled at her. Her shoulders tensed. Her fingers curled slightly on the pedestal. You okay? Orin asked quickly. She nodded, but her voice came out strained. It is harder than I expected. The artifact spun faster now. Bright lines of energy wrapped around it like swirling ribbons. Orin watched them carefully, studying how they moved. He did not understand the technology, but he could tell the heart was fighting against being controlled. Sarilith's hands shook. Her knees weakened. Orin rushed forward and placed a steadying hand on her back. Stay with me, he said, his voice calm but strong. The Empress breathed through the strain. The heart, it remembers old commands. But it does not trust easily. Then let it feel your strength, Orin said softly. You're stronger than fear. She closed her eyes and focused. Slowly the artifact's spinning slowed by a small amount. Just enough to show that her connection was working. But then the chamber shook again, harder than before. A bright crack of energy shot from the artifact and struck the wall, leaving a deep glowing mark. The air vibrated with power. Orin pulled Sarilith closer to him, shielding her with his body even while she kept her hands on the pedestal. The energy strike made the pedestal flicker, and she almost lost her balance. Don't let go, Orin said quickly. I won't, she whispered. But the artifact pulsed again, stronger than before. Another energy crack raced across the room, hitting the floor. The chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Orin held the Empress steady with both arms now, anchoring her while she pushed her strength into the pedestal. He could feel her trembling. Her breath came out in short, sharp waves. Sarilith, he said softly, tell me what you need. She forced the words out. I need time. Just a little more time. Then take my strength, he said. She opened her eyes, confused. Humans cannot use this energy. It is not your kind of power. But I can hold you up, Orin replied. I can keep you steady. He tightened his grip around her shoulders and waist, keeping her from falling as the pedestal hummed louder. His body shielded her from the bursts of heat and light. His feet stayed planted like solid ground. The Empress felt his presence like a warm anchor. Something steady. Something real. She pushed harder. The heart of Valor responded with a long, deep hum. The swirling light slowed. The bright cracks faded a little. The chamber softened to a lighter glow. Orin looked up at the sphere. It's working, he said quietly. But before he could finish speaking, a large shockwave burst from the artifact. It slammed into the walls, the floor, and the controls. The pedestal shook violently, almost enough to throw Sarilith off balance. Orin reacted instantly, pulling her against him and bracing her with all his strength. Her head rested near his shoulder. Her breathing was weak, but she did not let go of the pedestal. Stay, Orin whispered, steady and strong. I'm right here. She opened her eyes and looked at him with tired determination. We must calm the heart, together. He gave a small nod. Then let's finish this. The chamber's light flickered and steadied. The artifact's spin slowed once more. The tremors softened under their feet. The heart of Valor was still unstable, but now it was listening. And the Empress was no longer alone. The alarms echoed through the underground chambers like angry metal beasts. Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered. But Rowan did not slow down. He ran deeper into the hidden tunnels while carrying the unconscious alien guard on his shoulder. He did not even know the guard's name. He only knew the guard had tried to protect him and Rowan could not leave him behind. Behind Rowan, the heavy footsteps of the attackers shook the old stone floor. They were not simple soldiers. They were Talaran hunters, creatures known for breaking planets and dragging kings out by their hair. Their armor glowed red. Their claws left marks in the stone like a knife cutting soft fruit. Rowan breathed hard but kept moving. The tunnels under the palace were much bigger than he expected. Some parts were made of broken metal pipes. Some areas smelled like old machines. Others looked like ancient ruins with carvings no human could understand. Rowan had no idea how deep the palace's secrets went. He only knew one thing: he had to reach the core chamber before the hunters did. Far above him, in the burning city, everyone believed humans were weak, frail, soft. A species that died easily. A species that bowed easily. The galaxy repeated that idea like a story for children. But no one had ever seen what a human looked like when everything was taken from them: their safety, their freedom, their hope. No one had seen what a human could do when even fear had burned away. Rowan's steps slowed. The guard on his back began coughing. Rowan gently lowered him against a wall made of glowing crystal veins. "You're awake," Rowan whispered. The guard stared at him with confused golden eyes. Why didn't you run like the others?" Rowan gave a tired smile. "Someone had to stay." The guard blinked. He had heard stories about humans being reckless, emotional, and chaotic. But standing here he saw something different. Rowan was calm, determined, focused in a way most warriors never were. The tunnel suddenly shook again. The hunters had found the passage. Rowan lifted the guard back onto his shoulder. "We move." They reached a wide chamber with a high ceiling and a giant circular door. Strange blue roots crawled up the walls. The door slowly opened when Rowan approached it as if it recognized him. The guard watched in confusion. "This door only opens for royal blood," the guard whispered. "I'm not royal," Rowan replied. "That is why I'm confused." They stepped inside. The chamber was huge, filled with old machines and glowing spheres floating in the air. A large crystal throne stood at the center, pulsing like a heart. The crystal was bright white, but when Rowan got close, it shifted into a warm golden color, like sunlight breaking through clouds. Rowan placed the injured guard beside the throne. But before he could examine the chamber further, he felt a strange pressure behind his eyes, like a gentle voice calling him. He turned. The crystal throne lit up even brighter. Rowan frowned. "You want me to sit?" The guard gasped. "No. No, humans should not touch ancient cores. It will burn you alive." But Rowan felt no fear. Instead, he felt something strangely familiar. A warmth that reminded him of home. Of sunlight on Earth. Of the day he left his planet behind, hoping to build a better future. He sat down. The light exploded like a sunrise inside the room. The ground shook. The floating spheres spun faster. The machines hummed awake after centuries of silence. Far away, the hunters stopped running. One of them growled, "What is that power?" Blue energy spread through the palace tunnels like a storm. The hunters roared and pushed forward, but their movements slowed as if something heavy was pressing them down. Inside the core chamber, Rowan felt visions rush into his mind. The history of the palace. The truth of the tunnels. The secret the royal family had hidden for generations. The palace was built on top of an ancient power source older than any known empire. It was not just energy. It was memory. It was consciousness. And it had been waiting for someone who could carry both courage and compassion at the same time. It had been waiting for a human. Rowan stood from the throne. Golden energy moved around him like fire made of light. The injured guard stared with wide eyes. What are you now?" the guard whispered. Rowan did not know. But he knew he was stronger than before. Not superhuman, not a hero from legends. Just a human who refused to run when everyone else did. A human who kept going even when he should have collapsed. A human with a heart that refused to bend. He walked toward the entrance of the chamber. The hunters burst in. One roared and charged at him. Rowan raised his hand. Light exploded from his palm like a wave. The hunter was thrown back, smashing into the wall so hard that the stone cracked. Another hunter swung its red-hot blade. Rowan stepped aside with surprising ease and pushed the creature with one hand. It flew across the room like it weighed nothing. The last hunter hesitated. It looked at Rowan with fear, a feeling the galaxy never expected to feel toward a human. Rowan stepped closer. "Leave." The hunter ran without looking back. The chamber fell silent. Rowan stumbled, breathing hard. He was strong, yes, but the power drained him fast. It wasn't magic. It wasn't super strength. It was the core amplifying what was already inside him. His will, his endurance, his stubbornness. The guard finally spoke. The galaxy will not believe this. Rowan gave a weak smile. They don't need to believe. They just need to survive. He helped the guard stand. Together, they walked out of the chamber and into the tunnels where the air was still shaking from the battle. Far above them, the city still burned. But now, the galaxy had seen something it never expected from a human. Strength. And it was only the beginning. The sun rose slowly over the damaged city, touching the broken towers with soft light. Smoke still floated in the air. The ground was cracked. Many streets were empty. But for the first time since the attack, the people were not running. They were watching the palace, waiting to see what would happen next. Rowan walked out of the underground passage with the injured guard at his side. His steps were slow. His body felt heavy. The golden light that had wrapped around him earlier was gone now. He looked like a normal human again, tired, dusty, and breathing hard. But the guard walked beside him with deep respect, almost like Rowan was someone sacred. They reached the city center where hundreds of aliens had gathered. The people stared at Rowan with wide eyes. Many of them had never seen a human before, and those who had believed humans were weak. But today they looked at him differently. The guard stepped forward and raised his voice. This human saved the palace. He saved our people. He fought the hunters when no one else could. The crowd gasped. Whispers spread fast. Some stepped closer to see Rowan for themselves. Rowan felt embarrassed. He did not like attention. He had only done what he thought was right. He shook his head. I didn't save anyone alone, he said quietly. I only stood where someone needed to stand. The guard looked at him with disbelief. You defeated 3 hunters. You activated the ancient core. You carried me when I could not move. Rowan gave a small smile. Someone would have done it if I didn't. But the people shook their heads. They knew the truth. No one else had stayed. Everyone had run except him. Suddenly, a tall figure walked out from the crowd. It was the queen of the city, wearing damaged armor and a cracked crown. She looked tired but strong. Her eyes were a deep violet color, sharp and wise. The crowd bowed in silence. She approached Rowan slowly and studied him with careful eyes. You are the human from the lower district, she said. The one who worked as a messenger. Rowan nodded. Yes, your majesty. I heard, she continued, that when the hunters attacked, you were the only one who did not run. Rowan shrugged lightly. I didn't think. I just stayed. The queen looked around at her people, then back at Rowan. Then let it be known, she said, her voice strong. The reason our city still stands is because a human chose not to run. The crowd erupted in shock. They had never heard a ruler speak about a human with honor. The queen stepped even closer. You have shown courage, and something more. You bonded with the ancient core. That has never happened before. Not even our strongest warriors could do it. Rowan rubbed the back of his neck. Honestly, I don't know why it worked. The queen smiled softly. Because courage is not about power. It is about heart. And humans, perhaps their hearts are stronger than we believed. The people began nodding. Some even looked ashamed of how they had treated humans before. For years, humans were seen as workers, as assistants, as background shadows. But now their view was changing. The queen raised her hand. The crowd went silent again. We owe this human our lives. From this day forward, humans will no longer be seen as weak or unimportant. They will be treated as allies, not tools. A loud gasp rushed through the crowd. This was not a small change. This was history. Rowan swallowed hard. He never wanted big rewards or titles. But hearing those words made something warm rise inside him. Relief, maybe? Or hope. The queen turned to him again. Rowan, this city stands because of you. I offer you a place at my side, not as a servant or soldier, but as an advisor and protector. Rowan blinked. Me? Advisor? I'm just a messenger. You are more than that, the queen said gently. You are a human who showed what humans truly are. Rowan looked around at the rebuilding city. He saw children staring at him with bright eyes. He saw workers lifting stones but turning to him with smiles. He saw hope growing like new plants in cracked soil. He took a deep breath. I will help. But only if I can also help the humans who live here. They deserve better lives. The queen nodded. You have my word. The guard beside Rowan placed a hand on his shoulder. You changed something today. Not just for you. For all humans. Rowan looked down. I just did what felt right. That, the guard said, is why it mattered. Over the next days, word spread across the planet. Then across nearby systems. Then across the galaxy. The story of a simple human who stood alone beneath a palace and faced hunters reached places Rowan had never heard of. Some species did not believe it. Others were curious. A few were afraid. For the first time, humans were not being laughed at. They were being noticed. And respect, real respect, was forming. Every morning, Rowan helped rebuild destroyed buildings. Every afternoon, he met with the Queen to talk about new rules and new alliances. Every evening, he walked among the people who now called him a friend. But Rowan never let the praise change him. He still used simple tools. He still ate with the workers. He still carried heavy boxes for the healers. He still smiled the same quiet smile. One evening, as the sky turned violet, the Queen joined him on a high balcony where the wind was cool. "You know," she said, "the galaxy will remember this day. The day a human changed everything." Rowan rested his hands on the railing. "I don't want them to remember me. I want them to remember what humans can do." The Queen nodded. "They will." Below them, humans and aliens worked together, laughing, building, sharing stories. The city did not look like a place that had been attacked. It looked like a place reborn. Rowan watched the scene and felt something he had not felt in years. Belonging. The Queen spoke again softly. "Between your world and mine, something new has begun. A bridge made of courage. A respect that did not exist before." Rowan smiled. "Then let's protect it." The Queen smiled back. "Yes. Together." And in that moment, with the wind lifting the smoke away and the city glowing with new life, Rowan understood something important. Strength had saved the city. But respect, between two worlds, would save the future.